Okay. So we're discussing middle school resources. If you haven't already, put your name in the chat box. So to get the ID and password, click on this padlock and request password and use your school email address. And it's optional to put your name in. Click submit once you've got in your school email address. And an email will come to your school address almost instantaneously. You can share the ID and password for the district however you like. If you do Class Dojo, Infinite Campus, however you communicate with students and families, you can send out the ID and password. All we ask is that you don't publicly post it. So you can put it in a Google Classroom, and I did the elementary session this morning, and as I understand it, this is your first year where you'll be doing Google Classroom. So you can certainly put the ID and password within your Google Classroom. And Tracy, if you would put your name and school in the chat box, please. We're doing a roll call at the beginning of the session, and then we'll do another one towards the end of the session, which I anticipate to be around 12:30. All right, a few handouts that you might be interested in. Under For Librarians, under Librarians Toolbox, Handouts and Outlines, I have this K-12 Resources Overview poster, which is an 11 by 17. And this lists everything that we have for K-12. And then, so the first half of these columns are about the content and what you'll find within that database. And then the second half of the columns are the features. So let's look at opposing viewpoints. It has encyclopedia articles, magazine articles, newspaper articles, images and video, primary sources. It has audio or text to speech. It has translate feature. It has Lexile. It has citations, and it integrates to Google Classroom. So you can see much of what we have in this last column does have Google Classroom integration. If we scroll down a little bit, I have scavenger hunts. So here's the middle school scavenger hunt, and there's a PDF version and a Word version. So you can take the Word version if you like. And edit it. So I tried to keep, and I can't get to my, there we go. So there it is. And I've tried to keep them to, you know, a duplex page because there are a lot of resources. So there's questions, and then I have the answer key out here as well. So you don't have to do these things from scratch. Where's my answer key? Oh yeah, there's a PDF answer key. So there's the answer key. Let me just check. Okay. If you're looking for a particular publication, we have this quick search box on the top of our page. Don't do anything, just click go. Don't fill in anything, don't choose your user level, just click go. And it's going to pull up just these random results, but what I want is this publication title search. And then let's say I'm looking for Scholastic Scope. So these are all the titles that we have from Scholastic. And here's Scholastic Scope. And we do have the teacher's edition as well. So I want to look, I could do a search within Scholastic Scope, but I just want to look at a particular issue. So I'm going to go into Middle Search Plus, which is built for middle school. And here's my search within over here on the left. Or I can open a particular issue. And so here are all the articles from this particular issue of Scholastic Scope. Let's look at this one. So I'm going to look at the PDF. And if I wanted to flip through this issue of Scholastic Scope, there's table of contents here. So I can click on the title. And then I can also go jump to set of pages. So here's the article. It looks like it did in the original because it's a PDF. And what I can do from here are a few things. I can download this PDF and put it on my hard drive. Can resize it. And here's my Google Classroom integration. So I'm already logged into my Google account. So I can share this with a class. I can make an announcement. I can create an assignment. With instructions. And then it's going to have a link to the article. And this is when the ID and password is going to come into play because we can't make these articles openly available. We have contracts that we have to honor that are specific to Kentucky. So we have to prove participation. So you need the ID and password. I can make it ungraded. I can put a due date on it. So there's the due date, give it a topic. And I could, if I had students in my classroom, I could assign it to just specific students. So it's done. And here's my stream. Okay. I can also print this article and I can get the permalink or the citation. So if I wanted the citation, I click the citation button and I can scroll down. Here is the citation with a link to the article. And then also this chain link, I can get the permalink. The permalink is important. So if you're creating a hyperdoc or a website, or maybe you're looking for articles to assign to your class and you're throwing them into an email to yourself, you want to use this permalink. You never, ever, ever want to copy the URL here in your web browser address bar, because that's just this session, this moment in time, and you won't be able to get back to this article later on. So always recommend that you use the citation, which has the link, or go to the permalink button and copy and paste this wherever you need it. Any questions so far? Just again, feel free to unmute yourself, ask your question. I'm happy to stop and and answer. All right. We're going to spend our time under, oh, wait, sorry. Sorry, got ahead of myself. Also want to show you middle school. So I can use the quick search. If I'm not sure what product, what database I want to use, I can choose middle, type in my search term, click go. And here's my results list. Now this is pulling some higher level articles. So I am going to change this to magazines. And I'm also going to use my date slider. Or, so there's a couple things I can do. But I can also go to a specific database. So if I wanted to do, and I think my browser's a little bit hung up. If I just wanted middle school articles, I can click Middle Search Plus. Oh, it's, hold on, let me switch over. I've been doing so much in Ebsco this morning, it's kind of mad at me. So, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's prompting me to log in. So I put in my ID and password. Okay, let's try this again. I just want magazine articles. I click on magazines, and typically what happens, it refreshes right away. And I'm not sure what's going on with the encyclopedia entries, that it's being slow to load, but I don't want you all sitting here watching that. So just know that typically you can use your date slider to change your dates. You can click on item type. So I might go to magazine journals, or excuse me, magazine articles, and filter out these academic journals. Let's see. But then here we do have some articles that are of interest. We've got one about Henrietta Lacks. We've got one called The Immortal Woman from Science World. And I'm going to repeat myself quite a bit because I want to make sure that you don't miss anything. I can download this PDF and then email it to somebody or keep it on my hard drive forever. I can do the Google Classroom integration. The buttons are over on the right, and I'm not currently logged in, so it will prompt me to log in. I can get the citation or the permalink, where I can copy and paste that into a website. Okay. There is also on this librarians page a middle school handout, which shows different ways that they can navigate, some scenarios and what resource they might use. So if you need a viewpoint for a pro-con argument, look to Galen Context Opposing Viewpoints. How to use, very briefly, how to use quick search, and then list of resources that are available for middle school. And we do have a Word version of this, so you can put the Bell County ID and password on this and send it out to families and students. Any questions? Just feel free to unmute yourself. I'll also keep an eye on the chat box. And just as a reminder, I think we'll wrap up around 12:30, and then we'll do a roll call before we all log out so that I can send the list to Jennifer Yankee so you folks can get your PD credit, okay? So just be sure you've already put your name in the chat, and then we'll do it again at the end. We're going to be spending our time under 4K12 students, middle. And this is everything that we have that's relevant to middle school. And there's quite a bit here. So the first thing we're going to look at is Annals of American History, which is primary sources. And this is from Britannica. Not a lot of bells and whistles here, and I'm going to make this a little smaller. But what you'll find in Annals of American History are historical accounts, speeches, memoirs, poems, editorials, and cultural criticisms. And also key pieces of legislation and presidential speeches. So if I was, well, Declaration of Independence isn't exactly legislation, but you'll find a copy of that in here. So you don't have to go Googling trying to find it. I can search by author. So if I'm looking for things by Lincoln, there's 21 items. There are some images and some audio. So here we've got the first inaugural address. And there's always an introduction to give some context to the item and the source of that item. And then here is the text of the speech. And like I said, not a lot of glamour here. Email this document, print it, or the citation is here at the bottom of the page. I can also choose off the timeline, which is one of my personal favorites. So we've got different items here. Veto of the Freedmen's Bureau bill against the radical Republicans for immediate restoration of the state governments. And again, we've got some context and then the item itself. And then I can also browse or search. So if I was looking for and there it is, our first item. I can also look for something like the Cuban Missile Crisis. And the audio that this links to is in the public domain, so you and your students can do anything you want with it. You don't have to worry about copyright. So here's the text down here of the address, and then the context is at the top. And what's going to happen, I think you'll be able to hear it. I can click the audio and it's just automatically going to start playing. Oh, they've changed it. Ah. There we go. And there you go. So they've made an enhancement, which is awesome. Because it used to be that it would just start playing immediately. Oh, there it goes. There we go. Any questions about Annals of American History? If you're just joining, please put your name in the chat box, and then we'll do it again at 12:30 as roll call for PD credit. All right. And be sure you mute. I'm going to mute you. So whoever's coming in as iPhone, be sure to put your name in the chat box so that we know you're here. All right, next one that we're going to look at is Britannica School. And this is good old encyclopedia articles. You can look for encyclopedia articles. There's images and videos. There's biographies, primary sources, world atlas. So maybe I want to compare countries. So let's say Algeria and France. I'll get some key statistics. And then if I go to articles and media, this links to different encyclopedia articles, so I can read more about France, read more about Algeria. We've got the flags here, some images and maps. Thank you, Kimberly. And then some videos, which look scenic, so those might be fun. Oops. So there is a world atlas. So you can look up a country and get economic information, government, other statistics. And then I can do a search. So I'm looking for information about Illinois, the state. And so here is the encyclopedia entry on the state of Illinois. We've got key details and facts. And then I can jump to different sections. So this is pretty long. So we've got economy, education, culture, etc. So this is the middle school version. If this was too advanced for the student I was working with, we can toggle down to level 1 and things are a lot shorter. The sentences are different. So you've got differentiated text if you need it. And then if the level 2, the middle school level is, doesn't have enough information or you need something more advanced, you can toggle up to level 3, which is the high school level. And again, the text changes, the amount of information changes, and so on. From here, I've got this arrow that says send to, so I can send this to my Google Classroom. And you've seen me do this, so I could ask a question and do my question, and it will link them to this article. But again, they're going to have to log in when they click that link, so be sure they have the ID and password. I can print this. Here is the citation. So here's the citation for MLA, and this has a direct link to the article, so I can copy and paste this into an email or a document. I can translate the page. So there's my translation, and it translates the interface as well. So show original, close that. I can have this read to me. So as you see, it also, hopefully you heard that, it also highlights the text as it reads. And then if I'm on a device, I can use the plus and minus to change my fonts. click on middle to get back to the home page. I can also browse biographies. So let's do Syrian, known for painting. Oh, how about metalwork? Let's see if we find anything. Oh, yeah, that's a little too specific. Now here we've got a couple folks who are known for metalwork in the last century. So here's the article. And of course, anything that's blue is a link to something else. And if this isn't enough information, you can certainly toggle up to level 3. There might also be images and videos for this particular one. There aren't any, but let's go back to Illinois. And here we have images, and then there might also be videos. It depends on the topic. Any questions so far? All right. Next thing we're going to look at is this Ebsco ebooks collection. We just added this, and it's just what it sounds like. It is ebooks. The great thing about this collection is that there is no limit on simultaneous users. If you do the full download as opposed to a link to the PDF, the checkout period right now is 3 months. If that's not long enough, if we get feedback that that's not enough time, we can certainly extend that, I think, up to a year. So subtraction and action, so we've got different things here. What I'm interested in is some science. So I can either do a search or I can browse. So let's look at the sciences. And maybe I wasn't looking for photosynthesis information at this time, but I ran across it and got excited. So I'm going to look at the PDF. And so this is the interface for the ebooks. On the bottom right corner, I can resize my page. I can use the left and right facing arrows to go through the pages. But I can also use my arrow keys on my keyboard. Table of contents is over here on the left. And then there's a little bit of information on the book. I can do a search within. And I can do my notes, but be aware, for resources that we have from Ebsco and ProQuest, most of them allow for creating a personal login with Ebsco, which is the provider of this database. So if I click sign in, I can sign in with my Ebsco account and make notes. And if I don't have an account, I can create one. And you'll also need to do that if you're going to download a copy of this book to your device or your hard drive. So if I click this full download, it's going to prompt me to log in. So just keep that in mind. I can get the citation. So here's the citation. So I can copy and paste this, and it has the link to this ebook as part of the link. Again, never grab the web address at the top of the page because that's not going to get you anywhere as soon as you close your browser window. I can get the permalink where I can copy this and paste it into an email or a document in Google Classroom, or I can click the Google Classroom integration button and make an announcement, create material, whatever I need to do with this item. Oops. So read chapter 20. So from what I understand, getting materials into the hands of students this fall is going to be particularly challenging, especially even with in-person, kids touching books, etc. So this is something to consider, that you check the ebook collection, and we also have a fiction collection. So, you may have to modify your approach a little bit, but in theory, you could avoid even giving out hard copy materials, or if you're doing the virtual learning option, you can assign materials from these collections without having to go Googling or spending money on something. So just give it some thought. And if you need help with it, just email kyvl@ky.gov, and I would be happy to help you track some things down. I do that. I can't do it for everybody, but I don't get asked by everybody. But I have helped teachers in the past build collections around plant science and some other things. So just let me know what you need. So do you have any questions about these particular features with the ebooks? Just, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. So something else I might be interested in, this might have caught my eye, this problem-based learning in the life science classroom. So there's books not just for students. There's also professional items, there's fiction, and I'm just using my arrow keys. Let's see. Let's go to facilitating problem-based learning. So this particular one, if I remember rightly, is from Abdo Publishing. No, not Abdo. It's yeah, NSTA Press. So let's see, facilitating problem-based learning. So if I just wanted this chapter, there is a download option where I can do chapter 3 and download the PDF of just chapter 3. And so it's now downloading, and here's the chapter. So there are a lot of features here. It just depends on what you're needing to do, what you're interested in, what you are researching, what your students are researching. So if you've got questions, just please let me know in future. KYVL is only 2 people, but what I do is tech support, training, and then reference questions. Okay, so back to results list. And I'm going to do a new search. And it's going to take me back to the ebook homepage. And let's say I'm looking for children's and young adult fiction.
No, here. Can you play a game on your phone?
No, I'm listening to a meeting. Do you hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having to listen to it. Oh, crap, I messed it up.
Okay. So let's say I'm in fiction and I'm scrolling down and I'm looking at these categories. So friendship, adventure, mystery stories, humorous stories, fantasy and magic. I can also move the date sliders. This is going back to 1932, which is kind of old. So social themes, let's do social themes and friendship. So now we have 361 titles. We've got some bilingual books. And this one's catching my eye. Friendship, children with autism spectrum disorders, brothers and sisters, autism. And then I can get the full text. There's not a PDF of this one. It just depends on the publisher, the source of the ebook. So here we've got the chapter list, and this seems to be perspectives. I've not read this, so I couldn't say for certain, but I can grab chapters, and I said I would repeat myself. So here's the citation button. I can get the permalink, and I can throw this into Google Classroom. Again, if I do the full download, I need to log into my Ebsco account. The KYVL ID and password is not going to work on that Ebsco login page. Checkout's 3 months, and we don't have a cap on simultaneous users. So you can assign this to 25 students, and that's fine. No, because Ebsco is a global company, I don't believe you can do that. I've not come across it. Hold on. Let me think. Yeah, I would have to look into that. If you drop me an email, I will do some investigation. So if you email kyvl@ky.gov, I will see what I can find out about that. Okay, sure. Happy to help, Julie. Just drop me a note. Okay. All right, next thing is called Explora. There's an Explora for elementary, an Explora for middle school, and an Explora for high school. And what Explora does is combine encyclopedia articles with magazine articles. So if you're in a rush, you've got a student that's getting frustrated, you can do one search. So let's say I'm looking for earthquake. So here I've got a topic overview at the top of the page. This is an encyclopedia article. So it is text. I can translate this. And it will translate. It just always scares me when it stops right there, but it does translate it. There we go. And so depending on how the images are done with the captioning, it may or may not translate the captions, but here we've got something in German. Back to original. I can hit play and have this read to me. Oh, I got it confused. You can change the accent on the read aloud. There we go. People find that hysterical that you can choose an Australian or British accent, and I personally prefer the Australian. I can download the audio of this as an MP3 to listen to later. Over on the right-hand side, I can assign this in Google Classroom. And I'm going to show you a feature here. I'm going to add this to my folder. And if you notice up here, suddenly now I've got stuff in my folder. I can click the Cite button, get my citation, and I can get the permalink. So there's my permalink. And I'll just, you probably won't remember this, but I'm going to mention it anyway. If you have a project where students are doing a bibliography or works cited, and it turns out that they copy the URL at the top of the page, there is a way to get back to this article. Everything in Ebsco has something called an accession number, which is sort of like a call number. So there is a way to find the article again if they've used the URL out of the web browser. But I don't see, here's the accession number right here, right above where it says stop share. And you can see they're the same. But I don't recommend it. Just keep focusing in on permalinks or putting things in Google Classroom. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my search results. So we were just looking at the encyclopedia article. And if I scroll down, I am looking for, let's see, we've got how do earthquakes form. What causes earthquakes? And one of these is from Abdo Publishing. And I suddenly don't see where it is now. Of course. Well, let's look at this one instead. So again, I can look at the PDF full text. I've got a glossary, I've got about earthquakes. This is a pretty modest list of chapters. Oh, this is Abdo, okay. So this one doesn't quite look middle school to me, so I would probably go back. And one of the things that you can do in your results list is sort by reading level. So I'm trying to remember what middle school is. Let's say, let's do the 900 to 1100. And what should happen, the page should refresh. And then it's just going to show you items that have that Lexile level. Okay, we may actually go long. Next thing I want to show you is middle search. Oh, sorry, Galen context. So this is basically a pro-con database. I'm going to make this a little smaller. So you can do a search, but then I can also look at issues. There's almost 500 different distinct issues that they have units on. And when I say units, I mean a featured viewpoint, Other viewpoints, encyclopedia articles, which are under reference, they often have infographics, magazine articles, podcasts, AP News, videos, and more, and primary sources. So say I'm interested in technology and education. So particularly now, this has just been updated, and what I noticed under featured viewpoints, online learning will be hard for kids whose schools close, and the digital divide will make it even harder for some of them. We've got one on locked out of the virtual classroom. And if you notice, we've got these levels, these icons with levels. Technically, level 3 is the middle school level, but it just, you know your students, you are going to have to decide what you think they can handle. So here we've got a level 3, but you know, they might be able to handle level 4. So if I look at level 3 and look at the featured viewpoint, typically there's going to be a blue box with some direction and questions to think about. I can also translate this page. And this is what it would look like. So I'm going to cancel that. There's a listen button, so I can have this read to me. And if you notice, this looks is the same same type that Ebsco uses. So I'm going to stop that, but it does do a translation. There's Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive. I can email this, I can download it, and it comes as a PDF. So here's the viewpoint. This one's kind of short, that's unusual. And then my Google Classroom link is here at the top of the page. So I'm already logged into Google, so I just click on that. Now I'm signed in, and now I can add it to my Google Classroom. So I really wish the Google Classroom button was down here with the others, but it's not. Citation is here on the toolbar. So I can choose my different citation types. And again, it's got that permalink that's part of the citation. I can throw the citation into my Google Drive. So if I don't want to do copy and paste, I can just throw it into Drive. I can do a send to. So if I'm a student, I can throw this viewpoint into my Google Drive. I can also, we've already looked and seen that we can download it. I can get links. And there is a feature, I'm not going to get into the details with it, but there's a highlights and notes that I can add notes and highlight pieces of text. And then when I'm done with Gale and context opposing viewpoints, I can send all those notes and highlights into my Google Drive. So let me show you. Here's my Drive. And if I don't already have a Gale in context opposing viewpoints folder, it will create one. Oh, I hate when it does this. All right. So here's, you can learn everything online except for the things you can't. And here's the article, the viewpoint that's saved. So that's something the student could do, is put it into their Google Drive. There's also, let's go back to technology and education. There's so much here. There's primary sources, there's magazine articles, there's reference articles, images, infographics, news items, videos, statistics. So I could look at digital learning hardware in U.S. schools. And every once in a while, well, not once in a while, but these infographics are interactive, and you can actually, this one doesn't do that, but you can change your data points, and it's called an interactive infogram. So just keep an eye on that. So again, I can save this to Google Drive as a student. I can assign it to Google Classroom as an educator. I want to get you out of here by 12:30 as promised. But if you want more information on Gale in Context or anything else we do, I've got a little bit more to show you, but I want to show you this real quickly while it's on my mind. If you go to YouTube and search for Kentucky Virtual Library, ours is the first result. If you go to playlists, there's a middle school playlist. So here are all the videos for middle school, and here's one on Gale in Context, Opposing Viewpoints. We've got one on Beyond the Basics. So explore the videos that I've got out here, excuse me, on the resources. And then if you don't see what you want, I am more than happy to create something. I do it based on the questions I get, and then if we get something new, I create a video for it. So just remember that we've got a YouTube channel with how-to videos. I wanted to show you Middle Search Plus, but just know that if you just need, if you don't want to do encyclopedias and you want middle school solid resources, Middle Search Plus is great for that. It's just magazine titles that would be appropriate for middle school. There is something called School Center. We won't look at it today, but if you want some time with me to go over it, I'd be happy to show you. It is supplemental learning materials. So there's English, language arts, there's math. As you move up in the grades, it gets into biology and chemistry. As students move through their K-12 experience, get into high school, there's AP and ACT exam prep. So it's just supplemental materials. It's not supposed to replace your curriculum, but it just helps the student do some self-guided learning. Okay, last thing I want to show you is Teen Book Cloud. And this is another one of our ebook collections. So we've got graphic novels, we have enhanced ebooks, which have audio along with the text. We've got fiction, nonfiction, drama and poetry. We've got National Geographic videos, and we have audiobooks, things that are just audiobooks. I think Macbeth is probably high school, but let's do, oh gosh. I'm not even sure what to look for middle school. Let's just look at the fiction. So we've got teen fiction, we've got high-low, we've got classics, we've got middle school fiction, middle, high-low. And then I read online. There's chapter button, and then I can use my arrow keys. So Teen Book Cloud, for the ebooks, there are different interfaces. So just be aware of that the student may not see the same interface for every type of book. So here we've got some nonfiction, civics, science, general. drama and poetry. Enhanced ebooks are fun because they have narration and sound along with, let's do a big dose of lucky. So a couple things about Teen Book Cloud. I can do a bookmark where I'm reading along and I'm stopping, but that is device specific because it's a cookie-based bookmark. So if I'm reading on my Chromebook and then I switch to my mobile phone, it's not going to remember where I left off. So what I recommend is that somebody stop at the end of a chapter and then remember what chapter they're going to pick up at. There are text options to change font sizes, spacing. I can change my color options. So if I need something that is low contrast, I can change my colors. I can add notes. And there's something new called My Assignments where you can sign up for a teacher account and assign books. That's something you can do. And then the arrow keys down here in green advance the pages, but I can also, I'm using my arrow keys on my keyboard. And then bottom left corner is the play button.
Chapter 1. It begins with the frog. Or maybe a few hours earlier, when I walked into town on Saturday afternoon to
Okay, so that's the reading. Graphic novels, and we're almost done. If y'all just want to hang tight here, and then we'll do our roll call. We've got a lot of graphic novels. So with the graphic novels, there's a chapter menu. These arrows in the upper right and left corner jump to chapters. And then what you do is use your mouse or arrow keys to scroll. This doesn't apply to you all, but maybe you have some older students in your life. There are titles that are typical to AP English. And then the audiobooks. I'm pretty geeky, and what I did with my son, who's 10, when we were decorating for Halloween last fall, I pulled up the audiobook of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, and I played that while we were decorating. He made fun of me, but that's okay. We enjoyed listening, and it was very atmospheric, so it was perfect. So audiobooks are just that. You're not going to see the text of the book. Okay, so that reads the book. And then the last thing I want to show you, there's two things. You can do a search. So if you're looking for something by Lexile levels, you can search by that. You can search by keywords, by title, by author, or you can go to the index here on the blue bar. And this shows you everything that's in Teen Book Cloud. And then if it has audio, that will show next to the title. If there's supplementary materials, sometimes there's lesson plans and quizzes that go along with it. And then here is the magical thing. Here is the direct URL for the actual Roger. So if you wanted to take this URL to this book specifically, so Teen Book Cloud has the My Assignments option, but you're going to have to log in to do that. What you could do instead is get the direct URL and then make an assignment in Google Classroom. And with Teen Book Cloud, the ID and password is already embedded in the link. So the students aren't going to have to log in to Teen Book Cloud. That's already there. So that's not something you'll have to worry about with Team Book Cloud, but that is an option that you can put it in Google Classroom. Okay, I have more to share, but I promised you it would take about an hour. Does anybody have questions that you want to put in chat or ask me? Just unmute yourself. I'm happy to answer questions. And if there aren't questions, if you're ready to sign off, please put your name in the chat box, because I will share the chat with Jennifer Yankee so that you can get your PD credit. And again, if you need help, just email us at kyvl@ky.gov. And I really appreciate you all being here today. I hope you have some good takeaways. Thank you, Pam. You're welcome. Thank you, Brittany. Thanks, Julie. Okay, has everybody put their name in the chat? Because I'm about to end the meeting. Okay, Dale and Tracy, you have. All right, thank you all so much.